broaden your horizons of things that you think you may like. I was a beginner again. Like I really had to go back to day one of something. And that is so humbling. I'm speaking to them about what I'm working on, why it's important, why I want to continue to do this work. And I can pull on years of performance and years of telling a story and bringing people along with you. That's actually the real underlying message that I was, sorry. Sorry. That's Antonio.
Welcome to Recast and Rise, the podcast for performers and creatives ready to explore what's next. You'll hear inspiring stories of artists who reinvented themselves and found new careers after the stage. Let's recast and rise. Ariel, hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. I am so excited for you to share your story. You were a ballet dancer and you had a really interesting transition where you got a PhD and you went to vet school. So
yes, that's correct. Yeah. I was that little girl that said, oh, I want to be a ballerina and then I want to be a vet. And I just was really serious about it. And so I had a 15-year ballet career. I did a lot of musical theater. I did a lot of ballet companies. I ended at the Metropolitan Opera. I retired in 2016 and applied to vet school. And I got into the University of Pennsylvania. And so I moved my family from New York to Philadelphia and started school. And then I transitioned into their combined degree program, which is basically both you get a veterinary doctorate as well as a PhD in infectious diseases. And so I studied infectious diseases for my PhD, and then I returned to vet school and I have a doctorate in veterinary medicine as well.
Okay. This is an incredible background. I love when you say that when you were a little girl, I dreamed to be a ballerina and a veterinarian. It's so great.
And so far I have made both of those work. So
yes.
I don't know. We'll see how much I like this second career, but so far it's going great.
Yeah. So you were a ballet dancer. Was that transition? How did that happen?
I had really planned to return to school. I really felt strongly that I would dance as long as I was able to. And then on my own terms, when I was ready, I would retire and walk away. And so when I got close to the time when I thought I was close to retiring from ballet, I applied for vet school. And I had been taking my undergraduate courses part-time during the last couple of years of my professional ballet career with the goal to apply to med school, right? So I did all of my Columbia requirements so that they would all be finished in time for me to retire and make the transition to school. And so I definitely planned ahead. It was one of those things that I was like, okay, we got 8 more years of dancing, give or take. And so let's think seriously about what I need to do for this next step in my life. And parts of it worked out great. I definitely enjoyed my classes at Columbia. And then something which I was not expecting happened that my very last semester before I graduated from undergrad, I volunteered in a research lab at Mount Sinai in New York, and I fell in love with biomedical research, and I really wanted to go in that direction. And so I suddenly had to pivot, mid-pivot, if that makes sense, and trying to find something that I could both pursue this vet career as well as work on the biomedical research arena. And that's where I got the idea to do a combined degree and do a PhD.
How did you juggle both performing and then going to school?
Yeah, that was tough. I definitely made it a priority to really schedule every moment of my life as much as I possibly could, right? Okay, these are the times when I'm going to be in the studio. And then I have this hour here in which I can do my homework and study for this class that then starts 45 minutes later, right? And then go home and I have to make sure that I study for another 2 hours or so before I go to bed so that I'm prepared for the next day's rehearsals as well as the class that's after rehearsals. So my day was very scheduled. It was tough to stick to, but in the end, it gave me incredible time management skills and organizational skills. And I made it successfully through both a performing career and my education. At least I consider successfully.
Very. How was your body during this whole time? Because we all know when we get tired, the body gets tired, yes, but also this is where you're more inclined to get injured.
Yeah. Yes. I absolutely fought with the fatigue, not only the mental fatigue, but the physical fatigue. And for me, what was really important was scheduling like time for myself, time off. Okay, today I am not going to do any physical activity. I'm really just going to take a bubble bath. And I wrote it in my schedule, right?
Yes,
this is what is important for me, to be kind to my body and be kind to my mind and rest my mind. I had great support, which was really helpful. My husband was fantastic. I absolutely give him credit for at least 50% of my thesis, my PhD dissertation, because he was my support and my rock the whole time in terms of how can I help? How can I make this easier for you? What can I just go and make you some dinner? So simple things like that so that I don't have to think about it. And in the end, really taking the time to rest the body when my body told me it was necessary, and rest the mind when I was sometimes you get to that point where you're reading something and you're no longer actually taking in the information. Your eyes are still moving along the page, but don't remember any of it. So that I was like, okay, as soon as you notice you're doing that, we're going to close the book. We're going to go to sleep and we're going to wake up tomorrow and try again. And so that was how I really got through it, because it was very tiring.
I know exactly the feeling when you find yourself, you've been on the same page for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah,
wait.
totally.
Oh yeah, I should just close the book. That's enough.
Yes.
We're done.
Exactly. This is not sinking in at all anymore. Yeah, that definitely happened to me quite a bit.
What tools, resources was helpful for you during the transition?
The support of my husband was number one, like I've already mentioned. But I think what was really, in terms of very specific things, was using other people who were going through something very similar. So nobody in my professional dance company was going to transition to vet school, really, but that there was several other people who were thinking of this as a transition, as a retirement time. This is my last season, in that mindset. And we really supported each other. Try to really enjoy every last moment and love for the rehearsal process. Try not to just be worried about the performance and enjoy each day, because at some point you're not going to be doing this anymore. And then on the flip side, when I was actually in vet school, same idea. Surrounded myself with people who really knew that there was a previous career and this is a second career, because you'd be actually surprised the amount of people who decide to go back to school and pursue a medical degree of some sort. And so there was a little cohort of people there that had a previous career, and then we found each other and we would stick together and be like, oh, right. This is how it feels to be a full-time student and to really have to sit and lecture for 8 hours a day. I could tell you my body was not used to that, for sure. I was like, what? I have to sit still for 8 hours? Why would I do that? Oh, okay. Yes, this is how you learn. All right. And so we would have these times where we would get together and talk about how different being in school again was from whatever career they had previously.
You're lucky that you had people around you that were going through that same transition.
Absolutely. And I was actually very surprised. When I started vet school, I was absolutely sure I was going to be the only person, right? I was going to be the oldest person in the room, and there are all these recent graduates of 23 years old are going to look at me and be like, who's this lady? But there were a couple of us there that were really drawn to each other and found each other. And we were a great support during school, for sure.
What did you struggle the most when you started building this new life beyond this stage?
I think probably the fact that I was a beginner again. I really had to go back to day one of something. And that is so humbling, right? Like you're suddenly like, oh, I know nothing. Great. I have to ask for help every second. Please clarify that. I really have no idea what I'm doing. And that takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of just realizing that everyone is at the beginning at some point. I look back at my dance career and I left when I was at the top of my game, but there were dancers there starting out right at day one. And you have a little bit of grace towards yourself and a little bit of grace towards other people who are learning something new for the first time. And I spent my PhD and my vet school was 9 years. I spent 9 years being at the bottom and knowing nothing. So it's very humbling. And I found that absolutely the most difficult, I think.
What a great response. That is so great. And to your point, so humbling. We're starting over and yeah, something new.
Yeah. And if you can kind of look on the bright side, it's like the discovery of everything. So it's both sides, right? Like it's very hard and very humbling to be a beginner, but there's also so much possibility of things to learn, right? Oh my gosh, there's this incredible, I'm going to learn the entire physiology of this animal that I had no idea before. So there's something wonderful about realizing the discovery aspect of starting a new career.
This seems to be a good time to pause. If you are in the middle of a career transition or you're thinking, what's next for me? Let's connect. You can send me a message. You can schedule a call with me. And I also have some free resources on my website. You can also subscribe to this podcast and follow me on my socials for more tips and tricks to navigate your career change. Now, back to our chat. What's one thing from your performer life that turns out to be very helpful in your new life? I know you mentioned time management.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Do you have something else to share?
It's interesting. I actually had someone ask me that just recently, that what do you think that from your first career you transferred over? And honestly, it is something to do with just being comfortable in my own body, being secure with who I am. And so there's something I used to perform in front of thousands of people, right? And now I have to speak about science in front of a small group of very intelligent people. But again, still a performance of a type, right? I am speaking to them about what I'm working on, why it's important, why I want to continue to do this work. And I can pull on years of performance and years of telling a story and bringing people along with you. And so something you don't think of, arts and science, right? Maybe two different sides of the brain, but I find that they really complement each other. And what I learned in my kind of artistic realm and wowing people and keeping people entertained really comes in handy on the other side when you're trying to talk about science. So something I wasn't expecting, but definitely brought it from the other side, from the previous career.
From the other side, over there.
The other side of the brain.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, thank you for going there with me. Gotcha.
And I was just about to ask you, how do you keep your creativity alive? And you just answered that, right?
Yeah, definitely. I try to really bring a creative side to any kind of presentations or any talk I give about the science that I do. I also still continue to take ballet class occasionally, and I still continue to move my body and still continue to do physical activity because it is something that brings me joy and brings me peace and is great stress relief. So there's that. But like I decided that I wasn't going to be able to just cut off the dancer part of me. Right? Oh, I've retired. I'm never doing that again. That for me didn't work. I needed to keep a little bit of dance and performance and music in my life, whether if I'm not pursuing it professionally anymore, but it still is such a big part of me that I continue to do for fun.
You do it for fun. Do you miss the stage? Do you miss performing?
From time to time, it's interesting. I miss like the feeling of community right after a performance. That's a weird thing, I guess, to miss maybe, but rather than the time on the stage, the community that the stage creates. That's what I really loved about my previous career. And there is something very special about sharing a stage with somebody else. And so I miss that. It's very rare that I share the stage, so to speak, in science with somebody else. It's a very kind of either a group effort or you're up there talking about your science by yourself. But the stage it creates a community, basically. I don't miss the hustle. I don't miss the constant feedback and some criticism, some of the downsides to performance. But I have to say, I miss the community that it creates.
If you could go back, would you do anything differently?
If I could go back, I'd be a little easier on myself. I'd give myself a little bit of grace for like all the times that I felt like I didn't do my best performance or that I felt like I wasn't quite there in rehearsal and that I used to beat myself up so much for every little tiny thing that would go wrong while I was dancing and performing. And you know what? Looking back, it didn't matter. Like I was out there performing, doing what I love. And if it wasn't perfect, so what? No one's perfect. So I think if I had the chance, I'd go and tell my younger self to just enjoy the moment a little bit more.
This is so great. We all deserve a little bit more grace with ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to bring that to this career. Again, not easy. Like still beating myself up from time to time, but I do feel like I'm a little bit more patient with myself this second career.
This second career, yes. During that transition, is there anything that you think that you were really great at? Is there a moment that you knew, this is for me, I am absolutely where I should be right now? I'm not versus, oh no, am I? Or maybe you were questioning yourself. I want to hear all of it. Please share.
It's interesting. Yes, I did have that moment when I was like, okay, this was the right decision. I love what I'm doing. And it was my first year of vet school. I was definitely struggling again with the, how do I sit still for 8 hours? How do I concentrate and learn that kind of information? I'm now a beginner. I know nothing, but I was in the anatomy lab and we were learning about the physiology of a cat and the muscles that they use to jump so high and the tail and the balance and everything. And I was like, this is amazing. It was like, this is what I want to be doing. Like, this is lighting my fire. So it was a moment when I was like in with really learning about the intricacies of animal physiology that I was like, okay, yep. Yeah, this is the right decision. I made the right decision. As hard as it was and it still is, absolutely the passion was there in that moment that I was again not expecting. But
I love that. You need one cat. That cat changed your life. You'll never forget
exactly.
that.
Yes, I will never forget that cat. That's very funny. Yes, for sure.
What did you have to sacrifice to get your PhD?
So the program itself is a little difficult, the program, the combined degree that I did, because the way it is set up is that you do 2 years of vet school and then you step out of vet school, which is 4 years in total. So halfway through, you step out and you do your PhD in a lab for however long that takes, usually 4 or 5 years. And then when you're done with that, you step back into vet school. And so what was so difficult for me was first leaving the friends that I had made in vet school, because they go on, they continue in vet school and they graduate and they start practicing and they're going off and kicking butt. And I'm still in the lab, still learning, still not having any idea what's going on and feeling like a beginner. And so it was a little bit of I had to say goodbye to these friends that I had made. And to echo before of the feeling of community that the stage makes vet school, I had found a little community and they went on to do incredible careers. And I was still at school. And then I finished my PhD, was very proud of it. I did my hooding ceremony and I was incredibly proud of myself. And I stepped back into vet school and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't remember anything that I learned 5 years ago. I basically felt like I was starting again halfway through vet school just because the way the program works. And so I really had to dust off those things that I had learned a while back and find them in the back of my brain and pull them forward and be like, oh yes, I remember that cat and I remember some physiology about cats, right? So it was still there. It just was very difficult to transition back into vet school. And I had to re-find a community in the second half of vet school, which I did, and I was very lucky and I had enjoyed myself. But it definitely was very hard transition. Those 2 points, I wouldn't do them again if I could skip over it.
It's very interesting that they do that, they designed the program like that because, to your point, your brain is, okay, you're doing your PhD and then you come back. Yeah. Very surprised. I'm sure there's obvious reasons why they built it like that, but it's not easy.
I think a lot of it is in order to form your brain to think as to integrate those two things is the hope. I also think that kind of logistically, some people after getting their 1 degree decided to leave and not finish the 2nd degree. And so if you space them out, then they'll get all the way through. But I don't know the real reason.
Congratulations on doing both.
Thank you. Yeah.
Very impressive. What do we call you now? What are you? Are you a doctor? Are you a veterinarian?
Yes.
What do we call you?
I'm a doctor twice. I'm a doctor. So I'm a vet and a PhD. Yeah. A VMD PhD.
Wonderful. And then you had your children after you graduated?
Oh, no, in the middle of that. A whole mess in the middle of that. Yes. So during my PhD, I had both children. And then I had 2 very little ones when I went back to vet school. And now they're still little, 2 and 5. But yes, I definitely am one of the few people that had kids. That's the other thing, is going back into vet school. It was tough, but I wouldn't change that part. I love having my 2 little girls, for sure.
Yes. Congratulations on making this all happen and with joy. That's the most important thing.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that there's a space now for women in science and women who are moms in science and women this is their second career and a mom. And so I feel very lucky that I've been able to pursue this second half of my life.
What advice would you give to someone that is performing or stepped out, not performing anymore, and is looking into transitioning into another career? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I would say really broaden your horizons of things that you think you may like. So it's so easy as an adult, especially. I see this in my kids. The kids haven't decided they like something or don't like something. They're open to everything, or at least mostly, except for vegetables for some reason. But like they're open to trying everything. As adults, you decide, okay, I like this, I don't like this. Maybe it's not so black and white. Maybe something that you tried when you were younger and thought, oh, I don't really like basketball or something. I don't know. And then give yourself a little chance to retry something. Try it out again. Think about whether, this might be something that lights a fire in me also that I had decided I didn't like. And it will open up your realm of possibilities of what you would love to do next. Whether it's for money, whether it's a career or not, who knows? But if you've opened yourself up to trying new things that you maybe had dismissed earlier, you might find the next thing that fills you up. For me, it was a cat in an anatomy lab, but for them, it might be something else.
A basketball.
A basketball. Oh my gosh, I suck at basketball, so it was not my thing. But for somebody else, perhaps a basketball.
I'm allergic to cats, so each have our own thing.
Yes. Cat's not your thing. Okay, got it.
If I want to stay healthy, I'll keep them like way in the corner over there.
Yeah, I understand that completely.
Some people, and like you take this as it's a huge compliment. Some people are just smart. In a way, like book smart, like you get it. And it's remarkable. I can't believe it. Not once, twice with kids while being an incredible dancer. Is there anything else? Do you cook? Don't tell me you're a good cook on top of that.
No, I don't cook. Definitely not.
Okay,
I have to say, I found a husband that cooks and is a massage therapist. So I highly recommend getting that. And I do think that helped a lot for this career and the previous one for sure.
So essentially your advice to transition is not to explore, not to get the cat, none of that. Get yourself a partner that gives you a massage while you're becoming a doctor and a vet. Gotcha.
Yes, correct. That's actually the real underlying message that I was, sorry. Sorry. That's Antonio. Okay. Settle down. Thank you.
That is so, you know that this is going to be probably the intro. All of this with the dog jumping.
Dog. Okay, bud. Okay. I know. You're excited. He's just a puppy. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. How many animals do you have? Because I saw a black cat behind you earlier.
Oh, yes. I have 2 cats and a dog. Yeah.
Okay.
For me, for vets, like that's pretty minimal. Most vets I know have, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 pets. So me maxing out at 3.
And we're talking about, I'm sure some of them have like horses and like cows.
Oh yeah, sure. Goats are a big thing. Llamas now. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where do you live? You do have room for lots of bigger animals if you want.
Technically I could, but I'm holding off.
Yeah.
At least until the girls are a little bit older and maybe they can help me take care of all of those animals.
Yeah, because
that
animals,
I will slowly accumulate.
They're great. Of course, I have 1 dog, but it's when you travel, as an example, 1 is easy, 2, okay. But when you have 6, 7, then you have to have a community or someone to help.
Yeah, absolutely. You're like a farm. So you need someone to keep the farm going, so to speak, while you travel. Yes. And I don't know how these people do it, but you love animals enough, you find a way.
Exactly. Oh, Ariel, I feel so privileged that you shared your story. The whole time I was just like, oh my gosh, what else? Amazing.
Thank you. Yes, I had a great time.
Wow. Yeah, thank you. And for everyone that's listening, go for it. Go explore. And there's a whole world out there.
Absolutely. You just got to find the next thing.
Yes. Thank you. If today's story made a difference, be sure to share it with a fellow artist and creative friends. Also, subscribe to this podcast for more tips and tricks to navigate your career change. Until next time, I will see you in the next episode.